What it is, everybody. This is the story right here. Breaking news. Breaking news, if you can believe it. I couldn't believe it. All right, hold on. Let me show you the headline. Jussie Smollett charges dropped. His record has been wiped clean. Thanks for joining me early in the show. I'll let people tune in for about 15 minutes before I welcome my special guest, Leonard Roy. Breaking news. Let me play you this story from CBS to Chicago. Jussie Smollett, all charges dropped.
Judge also granted him. Prosecutors have dropped the charges against Jussie Smollett. A spokesperson for the actor says that his record will be fully expunged. A judge also granted a motion to seal the case. More details are expected after an unscheduled emergency hearing this morning. Smollett had pleaded not guilty to 16 counts of disorderly conduct for allegedly lying to police about a hate crime, including telling officers that he was hit by two men who yelled racial and homophobic slurs and poured a chemical on him. Police say in reality, Smollett paid two men he knew to stage the attack, adding that the attack was a publicity stunt because the actor was upset about his pay on the show. Smollett has denied all of those allegations. Gilma Avalos for CBS Chicago.
There it is, everybody. That's the story. Jussie Smollett has come out and made a comment. I'll play that for you. I'll read you a little bit from this article. Less than 2 weeks after Empire actor Jussie Smollett pleaded not guilty to 16 counts of disorderly conduct for allegedly lying to police about a hate crime, prosecutors have dropped charges in the case. Quote, "I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of doing what I was accused of," unquote, Smollett said. Quote, "I'd like nothing more than to just get back to work, move on with my life, but make no mistakes, I will always continue to fight for justice, equality, and betterment of marginalized people everywhere," unquote. Imagine if it was a white man. Just imagine. I'll play the statement from him. I can read you what his lawyer said about him. He's only been truthful and consistent since day one. I'll play that for you. Quote from the state's attorney's office. "After reviewing all of the facts and circumstances of the case, including Mr. Smollett's volunteer service in the community and agreement to forfeit his bond to the city of Chicago, we believe this outcome is a just disposition and appropriate resolution to this case," unquote. Smollett's attorney, Patricia Brown Holmes, said the defense reached no deal with prosecutors. Smollett agreed to forfeit his $100,000 bond, quote, "so he could go on with his life and get this over with," unquote, she said. He had to post 10% of that, or $10,000. For unclear reasons, Judge Stephen Watkins ordered the public court file sealed. There had been no clue that prosecutors planned the about-face before the announcement. A publicist for Smollett's attorney was the first to notify the news media Tuesday morning, issuing an alert that did not elaborate on the nature of the emergency. An emergency meeting. Moments after Judge Stephen Watkins allowed the dismissal, attorneys for Smollett issued a statement. Quote, "Today, all criminal charges against Jussie Smollett were dropped, and his record has been wiped clean of the filing of this tragic complaint against him. Jussie was attacked by two people he was unable to identify on January 29th. He was a victim who was vilified and made to appear as a perpetrator as a result of false and inappropriate remarks made to the public, causing an inappropriate rush to judgment. Jussie and many others were hurt by these unfair and unwarranted actions. This entire situation is a reminder that there should never be an attempt to prove a case in the court of public opinion. That is wrong. It is a reminder that a victim, in this case Jussie, deserves dignity and respect. Dismissal of charges against the victim in this case was the only just result. Jussie is relieved to have this situation behind him and is very much looking forward to getting back to focusing on his family, friends, and career. Unquote. Chicago police spokesman Anthony Giuliani declined immediate comment, saying you would expect both Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson and Mayor Rahm Emanuel would address the issue later in the day. Quote, everyone knows how the department feels, Giuliani told a Tribune reporter. Quote, the superintendent and mayor will speak on the city and department's behalf. Everyone knows how the department feels. So the cops won't be having a press conference. How would they even do it? At a news conference last month announcing the charges against the celebrity, Johnson spoke out in anger. There we go. There she is. In places. Spoke out in anger about Smollett, saying his hoax dragged Chicago's reputation through the mud. I'll play you what Jussie said. And then, like I said, I have special guest, Chicago house DJ, Leonard Roy, who is also one of the first to call out this hoax. Happens to be a black American, so we can get his point of view rather than just from the white guy who thinks that, you know, a white guy wouldn't have gotten away with it. I will say that. There's no way a white guy would get away with this ass, even if he was famous. So I'm going to have Leonard join me. Let's see. I wanted to build up a little audience before he gets here. I want to play Jussie's statement. And then we're going to wait to see if we can find a press conference. Let me give a shout out to my sponsor. We also have the Mueller case. We have the discrediting of Rachel Maddow. We have the discrediting of CNN, MSNBC entirely. For 3 years, they've been perpetrating a hoax on the American people, scrambling people's minds, programming them, the greatest conspiracy theory since weapons of mass destruction, bringing it into people's households, raking in the money, just like QAnon. They knew better, and they still perpetrated it. I'm telling you, the people at the top, the people giving you the message, they actually know better. They're fooling you for shekels. But we actually sell stuff for shekels. So we have we're running a special or an offer on any Russian bot marked t-shirt on truthclothing.io, truthclothing.io. This is a sale through the end of the month. These will not be reprinted. So collector's edition Russian bot shirts, truthclothing.io. I'll show you all the styles. By the way, a lot of women listen to this show. So men, you should hang out in the chat more, probably. Let me show you what we have in the store. We have the End the Fed. I'm going to show you the women's styles. That's why I said that. Our Revolution tees. Well, you can pick up one of these other t-shirts to give yourself some free shipping and some other stuff too. Truth Matters, Question Everything, Decentralized. But what the special is today is on the Russian bot shirt right here, which I'm wearing right now. Russian bot. And then I'll show you our women's styles. We pick this stuff out, actually order it, make sure we really like it. Super high quality, way better than anything you'll ever get from Teespring. Non-Mirage Truth Vision says Smollett is in the privileged class, says Ryan Dawson. Well, he's half Jewish and half black. So what does that mean? I don't know. All charges dropped. You see we have the Russian bot Slouchy, Russian bot Slim Scoop, Russian bot Tank, and some of that stuff's already on sale, and you get an extra 20% off for the coupon code Mueller20. Coupon code Mueller20 at checkout. I'm going to play you. Okay, so that's what this is brought to you by. We love bringing you an offer. That's through the end of the month. We're going to try to sell out of all our Russian bot styles. Mueller20 at checkout.
And we're gone.
Hey, everybody. I just made a couple notes. First of all, I want to thank my family, my friends, the incredible people of Chicago, and all over the country and the world who have prayed for me, who have supported me, who have shown me so much love. No one will ever know how much that has meant to me, and I will forever be grateful. I want you to know that not for a moment was it in vain. I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I have been accused of. This has been an incredibly difficult time, honestly one of the worst of my entire life. But I am a man of faith, and I'm a man that has knowledge of my history, and I would not bring my family, our lives, or the movement through a fire like this. I just wouldn't. So I want to thank my legal counsel from the bottom of my heart. And I would also like to thank the state of Illinois for attempting to do what's right. Now, I'd like nothing more than to just get back to work and move on with my life. But make no mistakes, I will always continue to fight for the justice, equality, and betterment of marginalized people everywhere. So again, thank you for all the support. Thank you for faith, and thank you to God. Bless y'all. Thank you very much.
I wish somebody would throw eggs at him. I don't know if that's. Can I say that? Metaphorically, politically, I wish somebody would throw eggs at him. And overripe tomatoes too. I hope the has an eternal life of embarrassment and shame. I'm gonna get Leonard Roy on the show. If you don't know him, you can thank me later. Let me set up a meeting for him. We're going to get him on camera too. Make this the real thing. All right, let's see. I hope I have everything framed right. Oh yeah, I can, the Zoom. Okay, let me see. Invite. Copy URL. Okay, here. Okay, great. I just sent him the link. I'll just have to set up the window. Like right there, I think. Okay. I invited participants. I have, oh, my split screen is, oh, no. I can go like this instead. Oops. Great. I'm all set. All set for Leonard Roy to join the show. How about that? Hey, Leonard, what's up, man? Can you hear me? No. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there you are. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, you have audio, or did I hit the wrong button?
No, I got you. Audio and video. What's up?
Okay. Yeah. Woo. That's all I can say is woo. I'm not sitting. My phone is like a black screen, but I'm like.
Let me get you some video here. It's because
Okay.
my other camera. There I am.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa. That's all I can say is whoa.
What do you think? What do you think happened? Is it Kamala Harris and Obama or what?
Well, what I think happened is, honestly, his legal team was smarter than the prosecuting attorney. And the prosecuting attorney, I guess they were like, oh, we can't make this stick. So, well, let's go with something less or just make it go away. And that's pretty much what happened.
I'll read you the statement from the prosecutor's attorney because I just read that on the show. Let me see. They dropped the case. Here's what they said. After reviewing all of the facts and circumstances of the case, including Mr. Smollett's volunteer service in the community and agreement to forfeit his bond to the city of Chicago, we believe this outcome is a just disposition and appropriate resolution to this case.
Oh.
Did you just wake up to this news?
I was sleeping. My lady friend called me. It said forfeited to the city of Chicago, the $10,000. So that says it all. Payoff.
Chicago ooh, man, they done got paid off. Ain't nothing changed. They've been corrupt since what, the 20s? Home of the drive-by.
Now my son and I are laughing about this. It's like, oh, that's what it is.
Hey, look, I know y'all trying to build that railroad, so y'all need that $2 million. How about this little how about a little 500,000? Oh yeah, we got you. 500,000? Yes.
So there's the truth.
10 grand though, really? I mean, that's not enough to pay him off. Apparently the cops aren't that happy about it. Let's see.
They're not.
No, they said everybody knows how the police feel, something like that. Everyone knows how the department feels. And they'd say the superintendent and mayor will speak on the city and department's behalf.
Yeah, I'm sending him to the store for beer and smokes.
That's the right way to start the day. So what do you think got him off? I mean, it's not the 10 grand, right? Do you think it was? What do you think got him off? It's not just the 10 grand that got him off, right?
Oh, it's just the 10 grand.
Oh, come on. Come on, there's no way. With his political connections and stuff?
Oh, there's way. Trust, there's way. See, Chicago is the most financially thirsty city in the United States, bar none. A little bit of money goes a long way with all that corruption. And then they have a mayoral election going on right now, and they're cutting each other's throats. And oh yeah.
Man.
See, Chicago, people see it as a city, but Chicago is like a country city. So it's not exactly a city, but it's not exactly rural America. It's like an even blend of the two. Believe it or not.
Do you think a white guy could have gotten away with this?
In Chicago?
Yeah. You think that if they dropped all the charges on a white guy in Chicago that... I mean, do you think... Well, let me put it this way. Do you think white people have a right to be pissed off after this?
Yeah, anybody has a right to be upset or whatever about the situation, but it doesn't matter about the nationality of an individual. In Chicago, if money was spent towards whatever freedoms or whatever you're granted, ye shall be granted yay freedoms. It's very simple.
Man, I don't know. I think people are going to be pretty upset. I mean, I think this could stoke some kind of tension. I'll have to take a look on Twitter and see exactly the way people are reacting. I mean, it's just breaking news now, but I just have a feeling based on the way I feel about it. I don't know if are you as upset about it as I am? I mean, I'm kind of, I'm kind of angry.
Me being a former Chicagoan, I'm really laughing about it. It's like, oh, so somebody got paid. I just have to wait and see the fallout about what happened. That's all. That's all it is. I mean, you had a case that was pretty much, you've had cases against police officers there, right? And it was clear and present that, okay, police officer was in the wrong. You had a police officer that was involved in a DUI, crashed into some people and this and that. Police officer is taken into custody at the police station, and they hold the police officer there, let him go to sleep, right? Then once he gets up, instead of taking him to the hospital or any of that, they allow said police officer enough hours so that when they do the breathalyzer and such, it doesn't prove them being under the influence of alcohol.
Right.
Well, time of breathalyzer that was given, we gave it at 11 o'clock. Okay, well, the accident happened at 5 o'clock. Well, this is a busy city, and that's when we got around to it. You can't, it's like, where are they going to argue at? You had a police officer at this cop bar, had pretty little blonde girl, right? Pretty little blonde girl. He beat her ass. It's all on tape. He lost his job. It's pretty much it.
And that's it, huh? Well, you can expect the cops to take care of the cops. I just think they were so wound up about this whole thing, saying it made Chicago look bad. And now I just wonder, don't you think this makes Chicago look bad? I mean, or could it not get any worse?
A couple sitting in their vehicle 3 days ago doing nothing, and the the man and woman is shot. The woman dies, and the 1-year-old is wounded in the knee by a bullet.
No way.
I think that makes Chicago look a lot worse.
Right. Right. It's true. Well, that stuff doesn't get as much attention. So that stuff doesn't get as much attention.
They just had another one. 2 cops had finished their shift. They went out to have some drinks at a sports bar, and they said that it was just a random shooting. They just walked up to this car and decided to start shooting. One of the police officers died. They're saying that, okay, this does not connect. We have no motive on nothing, yada, 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 yada. Within 24 hours, they got these 2 guys locked up for it. I'm sitting here like, really? We're supposed to believe that you just, through all of this random video and such, you've got these 2 guys locked up, but your clearance rate on murders is way less than 73% citywide.
Right. Right.
Well, so there's something really, really wrong with Chicago. I can't put my finger on it. With the city government in Chicago, right down to the police department and the legal system and everything to do with Chicago. Something is wrong with it. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm just glad that I left.
Well, I guess it puts it in perspective as far as what the police are up to. I guess people are probably a lot more wound up about the Jussie Smollett thing than some of the violence that's going on there and some of the police corruption in general. So, I mean, that you bring a good
this
point of view
celebrity action.
Yeah,
but I'm just trying to figure out, how could he go in front of a camera and say that he's been telling the truth all along when you were not attacked by people wearing MAGA hats?
Right.
How does that actually work?
Yeah,
that's the part I want explained. Explain that. How do you go on every news outlet and say these guys use racial epithets, they were wearing MAGA hats, they did all these things, and I'm like, no, Jesse, stop it. Okay, you're trying to rewrite a scene for the little show you're on. Just no.
Yeah, well, a lot of people on this side and people who don't know, Leonard Roy was calling out this thing from the very beginning. That's how we met. Leonard Roy likes Donald Trump and thinks, in general, that black people should stop complaining about a lot of the racism and so forth from this side. Or so-called, and on fairly enough, I think white people should stop complaining about what they perceive as racism against them. So we both kind of have the same point of view. But you were calling this thing out from the beginning. I'm just surprised you're not more pissed off about it. I'm really surprised because I guess to a lot of people, I would think especially Trump supporters, he painted Trump supporters in a really bad light, and
he really did. But now, if one was to do the media spin option on it all, if they would do the spin option, it would be, well, Trump was found not guilty of any type of collusion, but that doesn't exonerate him. And I'm sitting here like, okay. So let's go tit for tat with this, since this is the biggest case that we got. Let's go tit for tat. Right. I mean, that's just to do the typical left wing media spin on it. You know?
This is a left.
Then they're bringing out all of the information about Kim Fox and the contacts that she made, and her saying, "Turn it over to the FBI. This is a non-winnable case. There's too many people that I know that I'm connected to within the case. I can't be a part of the case." All this stuff. It's insane. Then Chicago does not want to lose that money for the filming of Empire and this and that and that and this. Right. They don't want to lose any of that.
Right.
So because they're money thirsty all day long. I mean, if anyone outside of Chicago ever noticed this aspect, or not even aspect, this fact that I'm about to say. When's the last time that anyone remembers a movie filmed in Chicago?
Boom.
I don't know. I can't think of it.
They want too much money. Now, the last movie that I could think of, Transformers was filmed in Chicago?
Yep.
Really? Okay. Well, my son says Transformers. The last one.
I remember them flying into the building and crashing.
The last one that I can remember is this movie called Love Jones that was filmed in like 1996.
Well, it sounds like you think they're after money. All right, Leonard, I'm going to let you get back to it. Thanks for joining the show. I wanted to get your opinion on it. I'm going to go back and see if I can find the press conference and stuff. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. See ya.
All right.
All right. Good to get Leonard on. All right. I got him early in the morning, too. All right. So let me see what else I can tell you guys about the case. And I'm going to try to keep on whether there's going to be a press conference or not. I'll take some phone calls on it. We have a lot of people tuned in. We see if people are upset. Leonard just thinks it's about money. I don't think it's just about money. And I think we should be more pissed off about it, to be honest. Leonard kind of let me down as far as that goes. I think it's a big deal, and people were appreciated that me and people like Leonard were pointing out that this thing was fake. And in the first case, it was a lot of black folks who came out and said it was fake. That's why I didn't take a lot of credit for it, because a lot of people were saying it was fake. And I have to think people are going to be wound up. I'll take phone calls from people. 650-429-8294. Please, mods, take care of the racists in my chat, please. I mean, for God's sake. I don't know what's going on in there. We have a problem with, well, anyway. He was coming from the same point of view as a lot of other people, to be honest. There we go. Phone call. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, what's up?
Man, this is really upsetting.
Okay, good. Yeah, Leonard wasn't upset enough for me. Okay, hold on. I have to see if I can stop whatever's happening here.
Yeah, Leonard was a little lackluster.
Yeah, I know. He wasn't He wasn't as upset as I expected him to be. Sorry about the. There we go. It should be over.
Yeah, he should have had his DJ stuff in front of him.
Ah.
Energy. But maybe he didn't have his beer and cigarettes yet.
Hey, take it easy, man. Give me a break.
Yeah, but man, super sad, and I can't believe. I mean, all the charges are dropped, and a $10,000 for bail.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. No, the $10,000 it won't do it at all. $10,000 won't do it at all.
And there was talk about FBI involved because of the letter, and he's saying not guilty, right?
Yeah, he's saying he didn't say anything wrong, and he was consistent in his story, and his lawyers say he's the victim. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand it.
Very unfortunate. I was very sad to hear this news.
Yeah. No, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's totally politically motivated, and it's just, it's nothing happened.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I have to follow what they're going to say in the press conference and stuff. Because, the cops aren't going to come out and say anything. So, and that's what I was really looking forward to, because there's no way they can. They were so pissed off about it, that there's no way they can come out and answer questions, because they'll just say they're mad about it. So they must have been pressured into it. There was some kind of emergency meeting this morning,
Uh-huh.
and it had to be political pressure. Apparently, Rahm Emanuel is going to say something.
Yeah, you were trying to kind of ask Leonard Roy a little bit more about, who would this come from? Kamala Harris, Obama? What do you think it came out of in this situation?
I can only think it's some kind of political pressure. You know what I mean? It's got to be Kamala, or they said because of his volunteer service. That's one of the
I
things.
heard that, his volunteer service.
Yeah, what the hell is that? And then he says he's going to continue, and then he had to point out that he's going to continue his advocacy for marginalized peoples. First of all, he's not a marginalized person. This just proves it. And it might prove that, that in some cases in this society, so-called marginalized people are actually getting special treatment,
Right, yeah. No, that's what I feel like is the most sincere discrimination.
Right.
It's like holding these people above everybody else.
Right. Like that, and that's what I was saying. I was trying to say it to Roy. I guess he didn't see. He says black people should stop complaining about racism the other way. So maybe it's consistent. But I can just see how this can create more racial tension, because, if it was the other way around, I just can't see that a guy would get off. I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I could see it going. I could see a guy getting off. But if it was like a racially motivated,
that's what I mean,
political crime.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't know.
Right?
With, evidence. Oh my God! It just saddens me that the police did all that work for nothing.
All that work, right? All the detectives.
They didn't get any more money out of Jussie, other than because the bail was $10,000, so he paid him $1,000 or something like that.
No, it was $100,000 bond. I thought he'd at least have to forfeit the whole. When it said he had to forfeit his bond, I thought it would be $100,000 at least. It's only $10,000. Right. I don't understand, man. I don't freaking get it.
Man, is that what it costs? Jesus.
Yeah, right. I know.
That's cheap. Chicago's cheap, like Leonard Roy said. They're
really
hungry in Chicago.
I know. Maybe they, maybe they are. Maybe they are. I can't really. I don't think that's it. I really don't. I don't think it's the money.
Well, there's got to be more behind it. There has to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't just end like that.
No.
But hopefully some other people have some better insights than me. But yeah, I'm total shocker, man. Total shocker. When I got on your Twitch and I saw the headline or the title, it was just like, wow.
Yeah,
that
I know.
is insane.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Good stuff, Nathan.
All
Good
right.
talking to you.
Thanks,
Have
man.
a good day.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. All right, phone's open again, 650-429-8294. We're talking about Jussie Smollett. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan. How's it going?
Hey, going good. Thanks.
Yeah, so I spoke to you last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. I would like to say that this whole thing, they're just throwing it out there, seeing who is interested in talking about this, seeing who's interested in focusing on this, while other things like the Epstein and the Golan Heights are going on. Really, it's just such a controlled media situation here. Like this, Jussie Smollett, this should not be going on. If any one of us, if I did this, we would be in jail for years. No questions asked.
Right. Right. Well, and I don't even know. I guess he's privileged because of, I should also point out, he's not just privileged because of his race, but he's also privileged because of his status, right? I mean, we can also say that if it was a black guy
he's
with...
not privileged because of his race. It has nothing to do with his race. Yeah,
no.
They're trying to turn this into a racist thing so it perks everyone's ears up. It's just like, really...
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't go that way all the time, but to me, it just seems like I can't believe it. I guess I was following this case from the beginning. I would want justice no matter what. And I just feel like it makes people lose faith even more in the system, that they see somebody get off. And I guess he's privileged also. What I was going to say is he's privileged also because of his status, right? His status, he's on TV, he has political connections, and so forth. And maybe the race thing doesn't matter so much, but still, people look at that and they say the system is broken, the system doesn't work, it's unfair. And I would hope the city of Chicago would be wound up about it,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, look, the race thing that's the angle that they're playing with. But
right.
It's very unfortunate that the American people are biting, with this whole race thing.
Right.
I mean, honestly, we should really be doing things more important than fighting racial wars. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's pathetic at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope it doesn't make people think that, I can just understand how people would be wound up about it. And again, I mean, it's hard to take it in some ways, it's hard to take it another way, I don't go down that road a lot, but I just don't see it. I just don't see how he could have gotten off any other way. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Well, the judge, okay, so let's talk about it. The judge died in the Epstein case. That's news. And then
96 years old.
He's 96 years old. That's the only thing. So, and I did cover the Epstein case. I covered the Epstein case in relation to Mike Cernovich recently. So I was on it. And then we still have not received, the records still haven't been unsealed for everybody, as far as I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they will never be unsealed.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think so, huh? Well, what were you were saying we're missing out reporting on the Epstein case. What would you be reporting on then, if not for that?
Well, because now I'm sure they're just going to drop it. They're not going to do anything more with this. I'm sure, because this is going to take everyone's. I don't even know if the public opinion really matters. You know what I mean? But it really is a distraction from situations like this. And in my belief system here, I think the Golan Heights is a big deal. It is a big deal. Russia said they're going to defend Syria. I don't know what's going on with that. I really don't. It's just we don't need to be doing that. We don't need to be fighting any more wars in the Middle East and taking land.
Oh, hey man, I agree with you. And I was talking to my dad about it this morning because he follows Maddow and stuff, and somehow he doesn't think that she embarrassed herself. But at least, I told him, I was like, we're the ones who interfere in other countries. We appoint presidents and stuff, and we declare parts of countries. We just declare the Golan Heights to be so. And I agree with that. I mean, all I can say is I'm glad there's at least one anti-war candidate running for 2020, even though
Who was that?
Tulsi. But I don't. Everybody says not to put too much faith in that because everybody who's become, Barack Obama was anti-war, and so was Donald Trump, but both times we got screwed. So so I understand that argument for sure. But the only way to solve it is if somebody makes it an issue, and it's just that the mainstream media and most of the establishment is so bought and paid for, and so much of our country's GDP depends on building war machines that we seem to be stuck in this cycle of just always being at war. So I agree with you. That's a bigger story, but this is something that I had a feeling from the beginning about it, from the second it happened, that it was going to be a big deal. And it's just something that people, that touches people, that makes them feel a certain way, and
more about this racial divide.
Right.
Which it does fall into this accelerationist. I don't know how you feel about accelerationism in regards to, getting something to actually happen.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about what you mean by that. Accelerationism? What do you mean?
Well, some people actually want there to be racial tension.
Oh yeah, right? Sure. Well,
some people want an actual civil war,
Right. And it just builds on top of what just happened with the New Zealand shooter and him writing that manifesto and God, I mean, and then what I've been thinking ever since that happened is how much there is this white nationalist sentiment and how prevalent it is, and how I have a bunch of people in the chat who kind of subscribe to that great replacement, white genocide kind of thing.
Well, we spoke last week or 2 weeks ago, and I was the one that I told you I was a white nationalist.
Oh, okay, all right, got it. Yeah. I mean, I
agree. I actually agree with that. Look, I'm afraid of accelerationism. I don't want anything to happen. I want to keep living a comfortable life.
Right.
But we're heading down a bad path.
Man, yeah. Well, hopefully we can all get along. I don't have any. See, the thing is I don't have any beef with black people over this. It's a beef with the system, basically. A racist system.
There should be no fighting amongst whites and blacks.
Right.
This should not be about fucking the color of your skin.
Right.
This should be about the government. It's not about fighting each other, and that's what they want. They want to get us fighting, and they'll sit in their ivory towers, behind their walls with their security.
Right.
They're going to sit pretty, and we're going to fight, and it's not going to be good. I don't like it.
Well, at least I don't think people are going to get out in the streets or anything, but I just can't imagine. Anyway, well, that's why we're here talking about it, taking phone calls and stuff. So I appreciate the call, man.
All
right. See ya.
Take care.
All right. Yeah, we want to show that white people, black people, people of all races get along, and it's true. It shouldn't be. Well, it has nothing to do with Jussie. It has to do with a system. A system. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Donald from Chicago.
Oh, hey, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a point. Wasn't his lawyer He just got arrested with the Stormy Daniels lawyer.
Right, with Avenatti, right. With the attorney that was representing Smollett at one point, they'd say a different attorney's name here. So I don't know if that guy became disconnected with the case, but he's somehow linked with Avenatti in the same case. And I can't tell if he's a cooperating co-conspirator or he may be cooperating with authorities, like he might be a snitch or something.
That's what I'm saying. Do we think he had some dirt on the lawyer and they worked out and that's why the case is sealed?
Oh man, yeah, the case is freaking sealed too. I don't know. What a miscarriage of justice.
Like how is this not going to look suspicious that the case is sealed and they were so sure of the charges, then all of a sudden it just gets turned around?
Right, exactly. How do they respond to that?
You know? Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that point, though. It could be a connection, you know?
Yeah, right. Well, thanks for that. What do you think? And are people going to be pissed off in Chicago?
It's hard to say because, the way Chicago is, but, people that truly... Yeah, when the second I heard it, I just was pissed about it, you know?
Yeah, right. Me too.
It was quite obvious from the beginning that it was all made up, and now it's like, are you kidding me? Like, celebrities get off so easily all the time, and it's like it seemed like there was going to be some justice, and then it's like, come on.
Right.
But what are you going to do? Am I going to go out and protest? No, because they're going to, it's like... It just doesn't. It's the opposite way. If it was the other way around, there'd be tons of protests. But it's like,
yeah,
I guarantee it's just going to get swept under the rug and whatever.
Yeah. I can just see because I'm not like I don't have any problem anyway. I'm not like a white nationalist or white supremacist or anything like that. But I can see why people, like white Trump supporters would be pissed off, and it's because they were the ones blamed for the attack. I think that's why people were mad, and that's why Leonard was mad at first too, because he's a Trump supporter, and this was blamed on Trump supporters and specifically white Trump supporters who are always painted as racist, and that was why the crime was so offensive to so many people, and then there were a number of black Trump supporters who jumped on the same thing. So it's not just white people it offends, but I would think all of those people would want to have seen justice for this thing, and that's why I think it makes it so much worse. It makes it so much worse now that they've dropped the charges. It just means he wins basically.
Yeah. And I am white and I am a Trump supporter, but I think that's besides the point.
Really?
Yeah, it was wrong what he did against people that support Trump, I guess, but I think in the end it's like against everybody. Just making, like they said, people that actually get attacked and whatnot, it just makes it harder for everybody,
Right. Well, it does. It's unfair no matter how you look at it. And that's, and I never approached it from a way that I was like personally offended or anything. I'm just saying kind of like I can see why people would be, I really can in this case. I can see why people would be, because when you get painted one way all the time, especially, and then you see somebody who did that, just get off the hook because of some kind of privilege, right? Whether it be liberal privilege or whether it be racial privilege, it just accentuates the feeling that people already have that the world is kind of against them in one particular way,
Yeah, and it's a shame that the media plays up on that, and it always has to be a race thing.
Right.
Can we just take it for what it is,
Right.
Yeah.
Man.
That's all I got, though.
All right, cool. Thanks for the call.
All right, thanks.
All right, see ya. Yeah, I don't know if I'm being too, like I said, I don't know if I'm being too racial about it. I just, and I don't mean to be, I just feel like in this case, I get it, you know. I'm not personally, well, I'm offended. It's a miscarriage of justice. So I'm offended by that. This is Nathan, you're on the air. Hello.
Nathan.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, it's John Philly. Listen, this thing is like just so over the top, like in your face and obvious. I mean, just think about it. How much easier would it have been just to go through the charade, go through the trial, give him a slap on the wrist, and he just goes away? But they had to do the exact opposite to just, you know, punch everybody in the face for no reason. It's just insane.
Yeah, right. They could have made a plea deal with him where he had to apologize and they'd put him on probation or something.
Right.
And
just,
then,
you know, just a slap on the wrist, and he would, and then, you know, everybody would forget about it in a week. But no, they just threw gasoline on the fire for absolutely no reason whatsoever. There was no need for it.
Yeah, once again, it's kind of, it was a shock when I was told that it happened. I just couldn't believe it. It's like mockery, basically. And once again, the timing is really bad because of what just happened in New Zealand and the discussion people are having, and then all the censorship on top of that. And gosh, it's just one thing after another to divide people too. I mean, you know, even I can't believe the way the news is these days.
It's like, I don't know. It's just like driving a tractor trailer through a crowd of like 1,000 people protesting something. It's just like so blatant and so deliberate, you know, and it's just out to make people react.
Right.
You know, no more, no less. But all right, man. Thanks for taking the call, Nathan.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All
See
right.
ya. Okay. Reminder, by the way, sale on all Russian bot shirts until they sell out. Well, not until they sell out, till the end of the month, but they could sell out. So Muller 20, you got to spell it right. Muller 20, checkout, 20% off. 20% off. Truthclothing.io. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Nathan.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, it's Wade in Florida.
Hey, Wade, what's up? Oh, hold on.
All right, well, I got a couple ideas on this. I really do believe that it's a government-run psych op, a black op type deal, wanting to do a little racial tension, but I think it went wrong because that camera was turned the wrong way. They didn't get the footage. They would have had that footage running all over the country. I think it would have really done a little more harm. You know what I mean?
If they'd shown the footage of the attack, which they almost certainly have. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, they claimed the camera was pointed in a different direction or wasn't running or something like that. Remember, as in the beginning, Jussie said, "Oh, the camera," and then they showed the camera was crooked or didn't get it. So I think that's where they messed up by not getting that footage, you know?
I don't know. I bet they had it. I think they probably had the footage, to be honest, and then just didn't show it, the footage of the attack itself. I have breaking news. I'll tell you what it is. Breaking news, everybody. This is from the Gateway Pundit, Jim Hoft, who has a blue check mark. Chicago Police Union wants federal investigation into Kim Foxx's handling of the case after she exchanged texts with Smollett's relatives. Chicago Police Union wants a federal investigation into Kim Foxx's handling of the case. Well, thank God. I hope they get it.
Yeah, you know, they got to be upset, man. You know, they kind of got screwed themselves pretty bad, you know? Put all that effort in the investigation, then all of a sudden, you know, that the chief seemed pretty sincere. Remember that when you covered that press conference, you know?
Yeah, right.
He seemed very sincere. I'll bet you he's really pissed. But the other thing I want to say real quick, Nathan, I agree with the previous caller about there's bigger fish to fry, and sometimes these things are some kind, you know, the timing, the way they do it can be a distraction. The Golan Heights thing is a lot bigger than most people realize because, you know, how they got the Golan Heights, how Israel grabbed that in the first place. It's full of oil, number one, and guess who's on the board for Genie Energy, who's got the rights to it? Dick Cheney.
Right.
Going right back to the 9/11 crew, you know. So it's big, man. And when they grabbed the Golan Heights, they did it by attacking the USS Liberty, dropping napalm on them guys, blowing up the ship, and then shooting them out of the water with 50 caliber guns. It was god awful what our own ally did to us. As that was going on, they snuck up there and grabbed the Golan Heights. No president has ever endorsed that. Nixon, none of them. And now Trump comes up there and endorses that. And he's endorsing something that was made by a terrible act against our country. Those guys were slaughtered out there, man, as cover. While they went up there and grabbed them. We almost bombed Cairo, because Cairo, they didn't have the peace treaty yet. So we almost got into it. The Russian ships were out there too. So what Israel did to us was terrible. And for Trump to sit there and acknowledge the Golan Heights, it's a way bigger deal than many people think, especially if you go back and look at history.
Yeah, well, it is a big deal if they ever. It's just, well, I don't know why anybody thought there was going to be a genuine effort at a peace plan in the Middle East that didn't include Israel just dominating the world down there, with Jared Kushner running it. I don't know why anybody was even pretending to take it seriously. But now, I mean, we have just no credibility at all in the Middle East and with the Muslim world or anything because of doing this. So, you know, it's just, it's meddling in their election. He's trying to get Netanyahu reelected is what he's doing. I mean, that's really what's going on. If people realize that, well, with the attacks on Gaza, the rockets, you know, supposedly coming out of Gaza, and then Trump doing this thing with the Golan Heights, which, you know, nobody else agrees with. It's just us unilaterally saying it's true. Just like we declared the new president of Venezuela.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same old shit, the same old crazy psychopaths, man, running the world. You know, it really is. The Golan Heights is just the oil, man. It's the oldest one in the book. You know, they've been wanting to steal that all the way from Syria, you know?
Right.
The Genie, if you look up Genie Energy, you'll be surprised the names in there, man. Trump's in it. I'm sure Trump's making money on it. And if you look in there, you got Dick Cheney, you got Larry Summer. I mean, people in his cabinet are actually part of the board of directors for Genie Energy. They're going to be making money off that. Same thing Biden did. Remember that? Biden in the Ukraine got his son, the fancy oil deals and all that. Same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? They both do it. Democrat and Republican. What they are, they're just, you know, crazy neocons. You care less about the world, bro. But all I can say is good job, Nathan. I'm enjoying the show.
Okay, cool.
Keep up the good work, bro. Keep up the good work, man.
Thanks, Wade. All right, man.
Take
See
care,
ya.
brother.
All right, bye. All right, I'll take more calls. People are pissed. People are pissed in the chat. Let me read the super chats. Hold on, I'll take a moment to do that. Hold on. Let me read the super chats. Well, we don't want division and stuff. Wendy Marsh says she just wants to cry. Thanks for the super chat. No GPS data says timing is suspicious. Mueller report comes out. MSM has to eat their hat. Porn lawyer arrested. MSN has to eat their hat. Why not use Smollett to say MSM was right about something? Can anybody say it's right? Sheila says, who's made him the victim? There's answers there. Who's made him the victim? Three-Edged Sword says mods need to do a better job. Pretty soon they'll kill channels for what's in their chat room. Yeah, could be. That's, I don't like that kind of stuff anyway. 650-429-8294. 650 gay taxi if you need a way to remember it. There is 5G in Israel, by the way. There is 5G in Israel. The map that people refer to is not the case. This is Nathan. You're on the air. Hello.
What's up, Nathan?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. 2 words. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, right? I kept it.
That's what this is all about. I mean, it's kind of obvious. If they go to trial on any of those 16 charges, you have discovery, and it goes back to her, and some intrepid reporter or journalist will bring this out. So in order to cover up who's really behind the Jussie Smollett stunt, they had to dig And the prosecutor was in on it. That's why the Chicago PD Officers Union wants to do that investigation. Because it's kind of surprised that Leonard didn't pick up on this.
I know.
It has bigger implications. So that's what it's really all about.
I was shocked at Leonard's reaction, actually. I was shocked that he was so kind of, I don't know if the right word is nonplussed. He didn't seem, he didn't.
No, Leonard, for all his perception, doesn't have the big picture. Okay, he can't be faulted for that. Okay, he just doesn't have the big picture. The big picture is 2020. Okay, this is a no pun intended, but this is a real black eye on some of the Democratic contenders. They can't have a gay black man being brought up on charges because it would discredit their political base in some respects. So, the politics of LGBTQ and the politics of minority politics coming out of Chicago, and the people who protect these people and the people who can bring votes all play into this scenario.
Man, I just can't believe it's going to go. I just can't believe. Everybody knows it's a hoax. Everybody should be pissed off about it, regardless of race. I can't imagine. I just don't know who it plays well with. Do you think you think they just didn't want the story going on anymore, so they decided best thing is just to try to kill it, or what?
Well, in old parlance, statecraft, spook world, political, he was about to become an embarrassment to somebody. Usually, when that reaches that state, somebody is put aside or put down. He couldn't afford to do that with Jussie Smollett because he was too high profile. Okay, so an accommodation, a backroom accommodation, it happens all the time. Somebody raises a series of consequences and or scenarios, and then that's put on the table. Then the other side evaluates the proposition, and that's what happened. If this gets out, if we go forward, and people at that level are thinking 5, 6, 7, 8 moves down the road. But this all has to do with 2020 and Kamala Harris' campaign, because they're very close. Kind of obvious.
Yeah. Emergency hearing today.
So.
Wow.
That's my 2 cents on it.
All right. Yeah, I think there's definitely something more to it for Chicago police to drop it, because I'm sure they didn't want to. Drop the case. So it definitely took some pressure.
When you have 16 charges, that means you have a preponderance of evidence to get at least on more than half or somewhere around half of those charges. Okay. It took a lot of police resources. I'm sure it was over $100,000 based on the overtime and all the other resources put to it. And
way more.
They have his confession, and then they have a lot of other things.
Oh,
so,
man.
And then they have the two witnesses.
Right.
So, it might be a story to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And the angle has to do with a certain senator from California.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll try to put some things together on it. And it's interesting this attorney was also tied in with Michael Avenatti. That's certainly an interesting point of the story.
My last statement. Some really enterprising independent journalists will bring all these pieces together. This may be a story that will sink a potential incumbent, or not a potential incumbent, a potential front runner for the Democrats. Okay,
right.
Not that I care about them. Their politics have totally gone off the rails. But it had to be squashed. If it wasn't squashed, it was going to really, really hurt a lot of important people. That's the only reason. And Smollett's attorneys knew that. If I go down, I'm bringing other people down with me. You know,
Right.
it's like the old Ron Brown thing. All right, man. I'll
All
let
right.
you go.
All right. Thanks for the call. Huh, man. All right. Well, once again, guys, try to keep racist stuff out of the chat. I just had to ban somebody again. Definitely not. Definitely don't think that's appropriate at all. In fact, I don't think it has anything to do with Jussie. I mean, I don't think it has to do with him being black. I think it has to do with the system. Anyway, this is Nathan. You're on the air. Hello, you're on the air.
Nathan, hey, buddy.
Hey, sorry for all the ringing.
No, it's okay. Don't apologize.
There we go.
I
got rid of it.
You know, it's very interesting because I went to bed last night. You know, when you have such an overwhelming avalanche of news like yesterday gave to us, when you lay in bed, your brain starts to go over what they did to you mentally. And I laid there thinking, you know, what's going to be going on the rest of this week? And I always look at the balance, the scales, and I think to myself, what happened today when the news broke about the Smollett thing? And it always comes down to the timing. It's always the timing for me. They could have released this, and they knew about this. This is all by design, of course. They knew about this Jussie Smollett garbage a week ago or even more, and then they, by design, released this exactly in correspondence with the news of Avenatti and the Mueller report on Monday. And that's how disgusting and absolutely corrupt and downright evil all of this is.
So you have a theory, of course, about it being engineered news for the timing. Now, the reporting kind of suggests that there was an emergency hearing of some sort that was called this morning, and then the charges were dropped. So, but you think this is something that was planned in advance, and that it was planned to. But again, if so, I don't understand actually who it plays well with. Like, is it really a victory for anybody? But when I think pretty much everybody thinks it's a hoax at this point, even Jussie Smollett fans. I mean, is it a victory for the mainstream media when the mainstream media's already come around and said it was a hoax? I mean, that's what I'm wondering.
You know, a victory is a very good topic to understand. The one thing that hit me like a Mack truck in my bed at 3 a.m. is that I never felt this much corruption internally, mentally, physically, spiritually, or you go back to the O.J. Simpson hearing when we went through the same year-long what's going to happen, and I'll never forget it. I was business suit and tie wearing guy at that day, and everybody in the office, everybody at McDonald's, everybody everywhere. For that moment in time, everybody stopped what they were doing, everybody, and watched the TV, listened to the radio. Was he going to be not guilty? Was he going to be found guilty? And when everybody found out, oh, he's not guilty, people like myself, we all had that same feeling that I felt this morning about there is exactly the corruption of this justice system. And we spoke about this yesterday when I called. Remember I told you in the great wisdom my mom always taught me? She always taught me as a very little boy, she says, it's who you know and who you blow. Now that just sounds like, well, that's just for women and how they get ahead in this world. But that statement alone signifies exactly what this system of injustice, evil, and corruption is about.
Right. 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 I mean, comparing to the O.J. Simpson verdict is an interesting thing to do. And actually, you know, I should be clear. I mean, the system is for the most part, at least by the numbers, tilted against minorities. I mean, you know, our jails, our prisons really show that. And so in this case, it's a rare case where it's the opposite. And just like in the O.J. Simpson case, we're not talking about your, you know, poor black guy from the ghetto. You're talking about in both cases, the O.J. and this one, two very privileged, you know, African Americans or black guys that were able to beat the charges. And it is, in a lot of cases, it is about privilege too. And so in both ways, it shows that the system is rigged. And I think the thing you said about it being worse than ever, about feeling it more than ever, I agree with you. All the way from the media to sometimes the justice system. And we're learning that with things like the Epstein case too, where rich and powerful people just get off because of connections that the rest of us don't even have.
Well, and that's just it, Nathan. It is the timing and it's the connections. It's the connections and it's the timing. Whether or not the idea of the Kamala Harris or Barack Hussein Obama and there are these connections that we're never going to find out that made this come to fruition. It's the timing of how this was released today, Tuesday. But here, I've got this straight off CNN. This is about a sentence and a half. I want to read this, and this is very interesting. It kind of hits the nail on the head. This is straight from Jussie Smollett's attorney, Patricia Brown Holmes. And she said this, and it just made me go, okay, this is how deep the rabbit hole goes. She said this, quote, "I have no idea what occurred in this case and why it occurred. I can just say things seem to spiral somewhat out of control. We have gotten to a result that is the right result in this case, and we are happy for that," Holmes said. So she didn't even fucking know because it hit her like a Mack truck 3 a.m. That's how corrupt this whole thing really is.
Yeah, I'm just stunned. I'm just stunned by the whole thing. And then the attorneys also said that he is the victim in this case. Jussie and many others were hurt by these unfair and unwarranted actions. It is a reminder that a victim, in this case Jussie, deserves dignity and respect. Dismissal of charges against the victim in this case was the only just result.
How does the police chief, as we go back, your brain, all of our brains are like a blender with the turbo button broke. Going back to the police chief on the podium, saying over and over again what type of evidence they had, and this thing is hit dry and black and white, and there is no way to get out of it. What he stated is now just for naught. The brothers, the Nigerian Chicago American brothers, their entire involvement in it was just for naught. And I'll let you go with this. You got great phone calls today.
Thanks.
I work for the United States Postal Service. Okay, so when you get trained for 2 months on how to do the job, they tell you what to look for when people. You still there?
Yeah, I'm looking. Somebody told me the Smollett press conference is on, so I'm looking. There's
okay.
Go ahead.
I'll make this quickly. So the United States Postal Service, this letter thing, which still is not done yet, the feds have not come out and said, yeah, we've concluded it, we're not going to look at it, it's done. They still have to have their point. Because when you take a letter and you mail it to yourself...
hey, got to cut you off.
Yeah.
I got Rahm Emanuel on. Okay. See ya.
And one
Bye.
day say they were a victim of a hate crime who now will be doubted. People of faith, Muslim or any other religious faith, who will be a victim of hate crime. People that of all walks of life and backgrounds, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation. Now this casts a shadow of whether they're telling the truth, and he did this all in the name of self-promotion. And he used the laws of the hate crime legislation that all of us collectively over years have put on the books to stand up to be the values that embody what we believe in. This is a whitewash of justice. A grand jury could not have been clearer. To then say not only is the cost, $10,000 doesn't come cost financially, but all the other repercussions of this decision it made, to me, where is the accountability in the system? You cannot have, because of a person's position, one set of rules apply to them, and another set of rules apply to everybody else. In another way, you're seeing this play out in the universities, where people pay extra to get their kids a special position in universities. Now you have a person, because of their position and background, who's getting treated in a way that nobody else would ever, sorry about that, would don't get near, I'm doing near my sermon here, that would ever get close to this type of treatment. Our officers did hard work day in and day out, countless hours, working to unwind what actually happened that night. The city saw its reputation dragged through the mud, but I remind everybody it was not just the officers' work. That work, a piece of that work, was shown to a grand jury, and they made a decision based on only a sliver of the evidence. And if I remember correctly, somebody wanted to have that evidence in the day, as the superintendent said, their day in court, so all the evidence could be made public. Because of the judge's decision, none of that evidence will ever be made public. None of it. This is without a doubt a whitewash of justice and sends a clear message that if you're in a position of influence and power, you'll get treated one way, other people will be treated another way. There is no accountability then in the system. It is wrong, full stop.
Do you blame the state's attorney's office?
What I do want to say is the way I look at it is I commend the officers and the grand jury.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, our job as police officers is to present them with the evidence. The apology comes from the person that did this. If you want to say you're innocent of a situation, then you take your day in court. I would never, if someone falsely accused me, I would never hide behind a brokered deal and secrecy, period.
But you never have any heads up about this at all, right? I mean, you found out about this today while you were here. Is it unusual for the state's attorney to just drop a case like this without giving you guys some sort of heads up?
Well, I don't know what's unusual for the state's attorney, but we found out about when you all did.
John, hold on one second. I would say one thing. From top to bottom, this is not on the level.
From the state's attorney's office.
I understand that piece, but I do want to get, it's not on the level, but I also want to say, and I want to emphasize, underscore what the superintendent just said. In the end of the day, it's Mr. Smollett that committed this false claim upon two individuals and who also testified, but also on the city. One action, yes, we're looking at the state's attorney. It is not on the level from beginning to end, and there needs to be a level of accountability throughout the system, and this sends an unambiguous message that there is no accountability, and that is wrong.
Okay, I have to pause this because I'm getting a copyright notice. I need to find it on CBS or something. Let me find it on somebody else's stream. I hope the stream doesn't cut off, guys. I guess you guys will let me know if it does. I'm going to try to find this on CBS. Jussie Smollett. Let me see. Let me see if I can get it live. Here. I got it. Okay, great. I have it.
From top to bottom, not only besmirching the name of the city, but then I cannot stress that in a time when you have people bringing a moral equivalency in Virginia between bigots and those fighting bigotry, then you have a person using hate crime laws that are on the books to protect people who are minorities from violence, to then turn around and use those laws to advance your career and your financial reward. Is there no decency in this man?
Mr. Mayor, do you think that the state's attorney's decision was at all politically motivated?
Last question, guys.
Mayor, his attorneys say was the decision at all politically motivated?
This case was being made in the public.
Two things. One, to the state's attorney, the question about whether it was politically motivated or not is something you have to ask them, because only they can answer their motivation. But I do know what the grand jury says, and I keep pointing you back to what the grand jury did when they saw just a piece of the data. And I think there's not a person up here who would love to have all the information made public, let alone the two individuals who also talk.
Do you think it was politically motivated?
Wait a second. It's not whether I do or not. That's a question that only she can answer. I can only guess at it. To your question, Cheryl, I would just, if you mind repeating it, because I tried to...
Yes. His attorneys say that he has been vilified, that this case was, that the case against him was done in public, and he was being judged.
He's the person that brought this forward. Now, I remind you all, it goes back to also a letter. Now, he brought this case forward. He said he was a victim of a hate crime. both for his sexual orientation and for being black. The evidence came forward. A grand jury saw the evidence, realized this was a hoax on the city, a hoax on hate crimes, a hoax on people of good values who actually were empathetic at first, and he used that empathy for only one reason. Only for one. Okay, just listen. I'm going to close on this. We just had one of the largest ceremonies for the police department in the history of the city. 297 men and women. Most diverse class representing all parts of this city. People from all walks of life and backgrounds and faiths who said they want to serve the city and serve the values of the city and help serve others in time of need. They are there to uphold the law, and they have their best training to do that. And I draw you in that contrast, people of all walks of life, as I said, graduates of our public schools, kids who grew up with parents who were police officers, veterans of the armed forces who have a life of service. They were there to not only uphold the law, but the values that imbue and inform those laws. And now you have an individual who took those laws, turned them inside out, upside down, for only one thing: himself. And that, in my view, is an insult and an offense to every one of us who collectively uphold those laws, because they reflect who we are as a city, and because of the hate crime legislation that's federal, who we are as a country. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
16 felony charges against Jussie Smollett are dropped. The record sealed. His entire record now wiped clean. We were just...
It's 7 minutes. I've set a 7-minute piece here where I was able to rewind. I think we caught some of it. We caught the gist of it. Okay. Well, things are totally different now. Things are totally different now. That totally changes things. So now it's just a fight with Kim Fox and politics and privilege because of money, basically money and connections. Wow. Just a totally different spin on things. I'll take more calls. 650-429-8294. You can donate to shows like this where we talk about the real news and bring you the breaking news better than television, faster than television. You can give donations right there. This is Nathan. You're on the air. Hold on one sec. Let me take care of this. There we go. I think I ended it. I swear it'll be over soon.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, no.
Well, let me shout over it. How's that?
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
I never thought that I would absolutely fall into like with Rob Emanuel, but I liked what he said.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, he's on it. Man, I can't believe. Hold on. I'm just going to close that. There we go.
But you know, the bottom line, I think, of any of these things, false flags, stunts, whatever, is to radicalize us. They really, in my view, they don't really care what we believe. They just want us radical because we're easier to steer around that way.
Right.
And I don't know, you can disagree if you like, but that's how I see it.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is just plain mind control.
You know, I agree with you, and there are more and more things that are radicalizing people. And one of the things that's radicalizing people for sure is censorship. That's one of the ways people are being radicalized. I think that is the goal. I think it's radicalization more than you be good and here are the rules. They just want us upset. Yeah. And they're getting it, too. I mean...
Yeah, they are.
Right?
They really are.
Yeah.
But I won't keep you. I just wanted to say that.
Okay, cool. Bye. Thanks for the call. See ya. Okay. Yeah, they do want to radicalize us. They're radicalizing us with censorship. Patreon.com/lifttheveil, PayPal.me/lifttheveil. Sale on Russian bot shirts. Mueller20 at checkout for 20% off all Russian bot styles till we sell out or till the end of the month. We're trying to move them. It was our first design. Truthclothing.io. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan. How you doing? It's Donald again.
Hey, hey, what's up?
Yeah, I was just saying, I saw that Q already posted about the Jussie thing.
Q is taking credit for it.
Yeah, pretty much saying, I think, kind of leaning to that. There's a maybe federal thing. I don't know.
Yeah. There are some different things going on, but we're going to see who covered this up. It sounds like they're going to go after it. I can't believe what I just saw Rahm Emanuel say. So it looks like there will still be a pursuit of justice in one way or the other. They're going to try to hold somebody accountable. It looks like.
Apparently, Breaking News Live Twitter says George Soros has donated over $400,000 to Kim Fox in the past.
Oh, really? Well, that'd be hard to track.
Yeah.
400,000? That's quite a bit.
Yeah, it was like 2 separate payments of totally $408,000. I don't know how true that is, but could be, you know.
Could be. Yeah. I reported on it too, and I'm not taking credit for it. I reported on Kamala Harris and the Obamas and these connections that Jussie Smollett has. So I could take credit,
I think,
also.
I think this goes way, way up there, way more than anyone will ever imagine.
Yeah. Well, all
right.
I wonder if we'll track it. Thanks, man. Thanks for the call.
All right.
See ya. I wonder if we're ever going to know. Yeah, I made a video about it. Yep, I was on it. I've been on all sides of this case since the beginning. Everything keeps changing. I slowed down the chat a little bit. Thanks for the super chat, Truck My Ad. Good to see you grow. Don't have much. Thank you. Whatever. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, so I just wanted to disagree with that other take that woman gave. I think it's kind of reverse. I think they actually are not trying to make us radicalized. They don't want us radicalized, but what they're trying, they want to break our spirits. But the thing is, they got to do that. They, in the past, they've done it slow, by cooking the frog, as they say. Not too much to make us jump out, just enough to make us complacent, but break our spirit at the same time, just real slow. And I think that what this woman did was a mistake on their part. And I think that the idea was they should have given him some, given him some minor charges and, short stint in the pokey, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reality is that what they've done now, they've gone and done is by just dropping it like this, they're going to create outrage, and it's going to create the kind of radicalization that goes too far and causes the frog to begin to want to jump out of the pot.
Right. But is that not what they want? I mean, I feel like that's what they're actually hoping for in this case. I mean, it's all I can see with what happened in New Zealand, that being such a major psychological operation to really divide people and make people
Do you believe
feel
that
radical.
was a false flag?
I don't necessarily believe. I don't necessarily believe the guy was a lone gunman. Let me put it that way. I think he was trained, and I don't necessarily believe that he subscribed to the beliefs that he put out in his manifesto if he was the one who wrote the manifesto.
Some of that was trolling, for sure. So part of what you're saying is 100% true in the sense that we know that some of that was trolling, though. He said Spyro the Dragon is what led him to... I'm personally an identitarian myself, a European identitarian. So I'm for Europeans engaging in identity politics because we have to, although I completely condemn and disavow what he did. But as far as what he put in the manifesto, so we know some of his trolling. He said Spyro the Dragon 3 being his reason for some of his ideas, and Candace Owens and such.
Right.
But I do believe that at the end of the day, what he did... the media is giving him everything he wanted. He said that if we create censorship, if we cause censorship and gun confiscation to happen too quick, too soon, frogs will jump out of the pot.
Right.
And well, he didn't use those words, but he basically, this idea, have you heard of this term, accelerationism?
Someone already brought it up on the show earlier today, but yeah, tell me what your definition of that is.
That basically is like a black-pilled view that, like a pessimistic view that basically Trump in the end he doesn't have the ability to stop what's happening. And what instead needs to happen is that what's inevitable is that either they will continue to cook the frog slowly, or things will happen, tragic things like what happened in New Zealand, mistakes on behalf of the left, and maybe in the case of this, what's going on with Jussie Smollett, or other things like people have talked about if Andrew Yang were to win the election, and the kind of bizarre, kind of third positionist ideas, some of the things he has, these are the kinds of unprecedented things, that not unprecedented, but unexpected at least, that could cause things to get worse. In other words, things getting worse, in a nutshell, things getting worse quicker, as opposed to slowly with someone like Paul Ryan and a Trump that can't fight back, kind of just slowly letting the tide push them back instead of deliberately allowing the heat on the pot to get hotter faster.
Mm-hmm. And that's called accelerationism. Is that what it's called?
Yes, another term would be a collapsitarian.
Collapsitarian.
Accelerationism, yeah.
And that's people who want violent change, basically, who want
well,
chaos.
Not necessarily violent. It's not that anyone wants violent change. It's that it's the realization that when, like, for example, if say a Muslim attacks a church, or as tragic as it is, I'm a Christian myself, but like I recognize that when that happens, that is going to wake up a lot of normies. It's going to wake up a lot of people that think that only democracy will solve this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I don't know. Yeah. I have ideas myself about what the real solution is to get into this coming new age. I mean, it seems like the actions, particularly the shooter, which, people don't understand what an operation that was and how well how well it's accomplishing the goals that were laid out in the manifesto, when he wasn't trolling.
Right. Absolutely.
And like people don't know, and people don't realize how the censorship resulting from that and the gun confiscation resulting from that is for lack of a better term, radicalizing people. And also they're being radicalized because they're being called radicals. Right.
It happened to me. I went to defend the. I won't give my name, but I did get labeled in the papers because I was in Charlottesville there to defend the statue along with 3,000 other people of various factions that were on the general right, and they ruined my name, and I have a very unique name, and it's very depressing. But the thing is that when various bad things happen, I think we should take heart and understand that, especially when it's especially it's very egregious. Like, again, I'm not saying it's good that we clearly want Jussie Smollett to go to justice. We clearly didn't want this New Zealand thing to happen. We don't want the economy to get worse, right? We all want to be rich, successful, and justice to be the thing, but to also recognize that as things get worse, especially when things are kind of egregious like that, there's a silver lining to it, in that I think that this has the effect of making people become more politically animated against the elite and wanting to get involved and more active.
Yeah, well, and like you said, it kind of red pills people, and we're getting more and more of that. I mean, first, with Jussie Smollett pulling off the hoax, I mean, that's a red pill for people, that someone would actually do that, and they hadn't considered it before, even though it's happened over and over again. They just didn't realize it was happening. So that's a red pill for people. And now the way the justice scales are tipped, and maybe I should have said more in favor of people who have privilege in terms of their connections and finances, more than necessarily saying it was, he got off because of racial privilege. Although I can't see this for anybody letting off a white guy and there not being way bigger problems.
Well, you know,
but
that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, not only is that true, that's totally true. I mean, if it was a white person, just, you know, sayonara and goodbye.
Right.
But the thing is that I think that if I believe the judge was African American that let him off. Is that correct?
I believe the prosecutor, Kim Fox. I guess the state prosecutor, Kim Fox. Yeah, she's black.
So the thing is, you know, in the past, a lot of the things that are happening with Jussie, you know, it's kind of precedented. You have groups like the ACLU, which is, you know, on the rocks right now because of what happened with that scandal. The ADL, a lot of the original, what we call the left, as far as the people financing it and the people leading the tip of the spear, a lot of them were of Jewish descent. And Jews do work together as a group in a nepotistic manner, and having an organization
Some of them, some of them do, right? Not all of them.
No, of course, not all by any stretch of imagination. But the fact is, if Europeans were to have organizations like that, organizations which favored their interests, we'd have big problems. But the thing, I'm just saying now, we're not talking about all Jews, but as far as those organizations that behave in this manner, that engage in identity politics,
right.
That engage in this nepotistic practices, they're smart to be like, okay, our guy got in trouble. Let's, you know, like I said, let's give him a year in the pokey. But what's happening, I think, with minorities like African Americans, I don't think there's what's the term, long-sighted, what's the word, far, they're not thinking into the future as far as, I'd say, Jews in the past have behaved, and Jews that are on the left that behave this way, that they're like, you know, this is going to make a lot of people mad really fast. And I think that this is an example of the left's pets, the left, you know, those on the plantation, so to speak, that they use for their foot soldiers, they use for their college. You know, Antifa works the same way. White kids that are young college students that join Antifa and burn a bunch of stuff down. I don't think the elites want that. You know, I don't think that the elites want a little bit of it at the right time, but then it gets out of control. And I think that's what's happening with, in this case, this what appears to be ethnic nepotism, ethnic identitarianism on the left among African Americans, because I just cannot see this being a win, a political win in any way for the left. This is going to be a short-term win that, to me, is going to trigger some long-term. This is going to be a milestone in a lot of white Americans' eyes to be like, wait a second, like, the world is not as nice as I thought it was.
Right. And I'll push back just on a few things, which is, well, just generally, we have a liberal Jewish guy in Rahm Emanuel, one of the most crooked guys too around, from what we can tell. But he's coming out, and he's coming out on the same side as you and me as far as this being a miscarriage of justice. So, you know, like I said, I definitely don't want to lump all people into categories, but I understand what you're saying about you know, cultural things where white people don't really collude together in secret as well. Well, Freemasons do, actually. So we all have groups that do that, but not as a general cultural thing to fight for those values. Now, you know, it's arguable anyway. We can argue about whether that's necessary or not, or but it doesn't exist, like you said. So and
Hey, I'm sorry. What doesn't exist specifically? What do you mean white people doing it?
I can't even remember what I was saying. What did I say didn't exist? I can't remember.
You said that I said something didn't exist. I assume you meant like white people colluding, or white people networking in that way.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what I was saying, right? It doesn't exist the same way as it does, you know, with other groups, like you mentioned, right?
Exactly.
Right. And you're suggesting that if it did, that there would be some positive change that would result from it. Is that also what you're saying?
Well, let me be clear. On an evolutionary level, on a deep, like, societal civilization level, not being nepotistic is always good. And that's, I think, why part of the reason Western civilization is so nice is that Christian ethic, that I think of an evolutionary ethic among Europeans that makes us not want to be nepotistic, meaning we're starving, we only have a little bit of seed crop left, like let's work with the other tribe. But if you're in a colder climates, on a genetic level, what happens in terms of passing on, in warmer climates, fertile, warm summer like climates all year long, it makes no sense. You might as well just take your own tribe, take the food off the tree, off the animal, and not share it. And I think that's led to nepotism among other groups. And it's not all equal, and it's not all the same or anything like that. And there's some very, there's certainly, all kinds of white people that might think that way. But I'm saying the genes are not equally distributed, and whites have the least amount of them, and that means that but that makes for really nice societies. It makes for very egalitarian, fair, equal societies with an equal distribution of societal blessings, so to speak. And so I'm not saying that this stuff is good. What I'm saying is that we're being forced into it, and that as long as these groups are in our countries, and living in and among us, we must, to some extent, try to create legal networks that seek to advance us as a group. In the same way that we do this in the form of side issues like gun rights, the NRA. You can look at things like Christian groups, but we don't have anything that does the same thing on the basis of being European alone, the way that Jews, blacks, Hispanics, AIPAC is the Israel lobby, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, okay, so it's good to hear your beliefs, just so I understand exactly what the rationale is behind what I would call, like I would say that that's your white supremacist, basically, not much different than a Jewish supremacist or something. I mean, you think there's something inherent.
Wait, I'm a white supremacist?
That's my opinion. So I got in trouble for this because you think there's something inherent in white people's DNA that makes them better.
No, that's
basically,
not true at all.
right?
I don't think that there's anything in white people's DNA that makes us better. I think there's a lot of things in different people's DNA that makes them better at different things. So I think blacks are better. I think Jews, on average, tend to be, Ashkenazi specifically, not Sephardic, but Ashkenazi tend to be more intelligent than whites, and actually more intelligent than East Asian populations, and East Asian populations tend to be slightly more intelligent than Europeans. So I'm completely against supremacism. I'm completely against ruling over other people or hurting other people or dominating other people. I think our government, I do believe that, but I do believe that a group has a right to network and to work together to advance its interests because other groups are doing the same at the expense of them. And I'm not, so I completely denounce the word supremacism. I don't believe in supremacism. I'm a nationalist first and foremost, just like Trump, but I'm not a civic nationalist. I'm a racial nationalist in that I believe that, I'm an identitarian is what I am. Everyone should be an identitarian. A black person should, every man and woman and child anywhere in the world should, you know what I want? I want the United States to run the United States the way that Israel is run. Does that make sense? So I want the kinds of laws Israel has. I want a wall around our country just like Israel has, or at least on our southern border. Does that make sense? There's no there's no supremacy or desire to be supreme over anyone. I want our soldiers, all those European soldiers in the Middle East, I want them out and not messing around with those people. I want them back in this country.
Right. Well, you asked if it makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense. I could challenge a lot of different things you said, so I don't agree with it. And
like what in particular?
You say white.
How about this? Do you disagree with Israel becoming a Jewish-only state? Oh, you can now, as of 2018, can only become a Jewish citizen if you are Jewish. You either by blood or by the very difficult process of converting to the religion of Judaism, which is very difficult to, and some judges don't recognize it in Israel. They have miscegenation laws, for example, making divorce very easy for between a Jew and a non-Jew, and making it very difficult between a Jew and another Jew. In other words, they want to keep the Jews together and so I could go on and on and on.
Right.
But like, I understand that you might disagree with that. I mean, many on the right are civic nationalists.
Right.
That's completely acceptable. I mean, I disagree, but I understand. But I guess is an Israeli person, is a Jewish person who agrees with how Israel is run, are they an Israeli or Jewish supremacist?
I would say yes. So I guess that's where I got myself in trouble, because I said some video clips I played to me were supremacists, because mostly they said we're better at things or we're smarter. Like you're saying, white people don't have nepotism, but I just ask you, like, what about the Catholic Church? I mean, what about all the what about the Roman Empire? I mean, it was great for a while, but then it was white people, white Europeans, who caused the debaucherous downfall of the Roman Empire. I mean, and then the Catholic Church. I mean, forget about it. Freemasonry. I mean, it's not all run by Jews, and then Donald Trump. I mean, white people brought us Donald Trump. I mean, this guy is the biggest warmonger. And so, no, and saying that Muslims or other sects don't practice generosity, and if you go to Palestine, people will be giving you something to eat. I mean, welcoming you. So no, I don't understand the ideology. I find it actually a form of victimhood, to feel like we're being oppressed somehow, when we've basically lived in a white dominated country for the last 240 years. It's only recently that the tables have kind of been turned. It's not like we have any trouble succeeding. It's not like black people are keeping me down or I'm being kept down because now the media is against me and stuff. I mean, right. I just think people, to me, I spent a lot of time around other cultures. I don't agree with supremacy, and that's one thing.
I completely don't either. I completely denounce supremacy. But on the other hand, I gotta give you credit. Unlike many on the left, people like Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren. Well, Elizabeth Warren's starting to turn against AIPAC, but the mainstream Democratic establishment completely acts as if AIPAC, that's the Jewish lobby that advocates for all this money to go to Israel, which is this extremely ethno-nationalist country, and at the same time condemning Trump for wanting to build a wall and to maintain things like not ethno-nationalism, but civic nationalism. He's a racist for this very light version of how Israel is run, which is explicitly racial and explicitly religiously nationalistic, not supreme, because I don't believe that it is supremacy. But to give you credit, a lot of those on the left consider they're okay with that hypocrisy. But I got to give you credit because you don't. You are consistent. You have a coherent, egalitarian. And I don't want to mischaracterize you or label you. We got to use like categories to some extent. If you don't like that term, I understand.
No.
Or use you can give me another term to use. But you are in favor of the egalitarian status quo, kind of going back to the Enlightenment and the post 1960s kind of consensus on things. So I got to give you credit for that, because a lot of on the left. But let me ask you this: I understand. Okay, well, it's not. You don't see it as a threat. You don't see the problem as like bad enough yet. Sure, there's affirmative action for non-whites. Sure, people like the Covington Catholic kids, that Indian guy, all that stuff. Where you had people on Twitter calling for those children to be put in wood chippers, and their accounts not being deleted, and their what they said not being deleted until the media picked up on it, the alternative media, stations like yourself, which, by the way, thank you for having outlets like yours, and thank you for your work, because I think that's a huge service to getting truth out there regardless of who's right here. Right. But I gotta say, as far as these groups that do that, though, so you have things like CARE, you have things like the Muslim Brotherhood, which runs CARE. You have the fact that the way I see it is this. Let me back up. I'm not quite sure if you consider yourself like far left or where you are, but you're consistently at least you're not coming, because I've had people get on and try to argue with me how all these other groups are not, engaging in identity politics. They're not actually engaging, or like a defense of their identity politics, but then attacking mine.
Right.
And you don't seem to be doing that. You seem to be very even-handed, so I consider you to be a very genuine person, because people who would try to say that Muslims don't engage in identity politics, blacks who don't do that, and I think that's what's going on with the Jussie Smollett cases we're discussing.
Right.
And things like, especially the Jewish state and Israel, and how Jews network with each other and how they are clearly identitarian, they would deny all that. So I can't take them seriously or really have any respect.
Right.
But I guess my question to you is, like, at what point would you say that it makes sense, or the ideology makes sense, that a lot of young, especially young white people, not so much the baby boomers, they're still in civic nationalists, like maybe build a wall or something, or have like quotas or something, but pretty much anyone can come here. The dirt itself is what makes America great. Has nothing to do with genes. Evolution, I guess, stopped at the neck up. Our brains are not influenced or affected by biology, bone structure.
Right.
I
understand.
identify someone's race with a swab, not of their DNA, but of their not of their spit, but of the bacteria living in their mouth. The type of bacteria can tell someone's race.
Right.
But but again, all that's abstract stuff that you say, well, none of that really matters to me, and I completely understand. But my question is, at what point do the practices of these groups, the nepotism, the networking, the strategic hypocrisy of saying, like you said, if a white person did what Jussie Smollett did, there's no way he'd get off.
Right.
Like, at what point would you say, you know what, I get it. I get why young white men and young white people in general are beginning to fall into identity politics.
Right. Okay. So it's a long question, and and actually, the first part of my show, and even what I said to Leonard was, well, can't you see why white people, especially white Trump supporters, would be pissed off because of this? And I get it. I mean, it's really there. So I mean, there really is an anti-male, or at least anti-alpha male, anti-white thing that's going on, and apparently in our schools, which didn't happen when I was in school. So, and I don't have kids in school, but I hear it's really bad. So I do, I agree it's all happening. I agree it's worth pointing out. The media, which of course we can say without being anti-Semitic, is vastly overrepresented by, Jews. The media is part of that thing that's telling white people that they're not as good, that they're racist, and saying that Trump supporters are racist. And I agree with you about the Covington kids thing. So I agree with you that it's going in a bad way. It's just that I guess I come at it just from a point of view where I've never experienced, like, it's just like the things you see on TV. Like when you see a terrorist attack on TV, well, it doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood, in your world, how people interact with you, and so forth. And I've had, I do feel like I've benefited from privilege when I've run into police officers. I mean, I spent most of my life breaking the law in one way or another, and never seemed to end up in jail for it. And I do think there, based on the statistics, that it might have been a lot different if I wasn't white. And I haven't experienced any difficulties in getting a job. People don't stare at me when I walk down the street, like they might if there was a black person around where I live now. So there is some, I still believe that exists. And white people, I think, are still mostly in charge in this country. So I don't know. I don't know if there's as much, like as a joke, I would say some of the identitarian stuff is like, white victimhood kind of, and I just don't think the same way Candace Owens or Leonard Roy is going to tell black people to stop complaining, about, that's the way I feel about it, basically, is I like, don't let it interfere with your success, with having a family, with having one thing I really agree with is in the sense that the white genocide is real. White people are becoming more and more of a minority because they don't have strong families and lots of kids, And I think anything people do to encourage that is really a positive thing. And I think people as individuals, should do that if they feel so inclined to. But I think that's, focusing at home on your family, on your community and stuff is kind of where I'm at, rather than trying to change the world. And also I don't know how to fight back exactly, except the way people are doing it now, by having conversations like this, by using social media and stuff. I don't know beyond that, and beyond working on, again, my life, my family. I don't know if there's much more to do. What would you like to see as far as people waking up politically and having political action? I mean, would you like to see marches? Would you like to see what would you like to see?
I guess the first thing is I want to convince white people first, what I like. The first thing I just want to say is that language matters, and that to me this is all defense, it's not offense. I don't want to be supreme over anyone else. So I think that there are legitimate things out there, legitimate issues, and even if you disagree, or even if you do think of it as a type of victimhood, that's okay, but that doesn't make it. That would be harder. That's harder to argue against than saying it's supremacy. I think flat out it's not fair. And when I say fair, I don't mean like, I lost the game, that's not fair, like kind of like a baby. But I mean it's not intellectually honest. That just when you're being dishonest, like you're trying to deceive at all. I'm not saying that, but I mean like you're just not. It's not like intellectually correct to be using the word supremacist when there are legitimate threats and things happening to white people. So as the first thing I want to convince everyone of, and the first thing I want to do is just not to use that word. You can use the word nationalist, you can use the word identitarian, you can say that's a Muslim identitarian, that's a Jewish identitarian, but my views and the views of the overwhelming majority of people who consider themselves some kind of white people who are for identity politics, it's simply about defense. It has nothing to protecting ourselves and trying to advance ourselves. Now, that being said, so that's the first thing I want to just establish. But as far as like things to do, there are movements afoot, things that people can join. For example, there's a new up and coming organization called the American Identity Movement that was founded recently. And there's been various attempts at different things, but sometimes the weight of like groups like the Sovereign Poverty Law Center, which has now had its reputation is thoroughly discredited as a result of the scandal with its founders attacking organizations to try to do this. But this is a new organization that just founded. I think you can look up tweets from Patrick Casey on Twitter, American Identity Movement. Aside from that, you can also look into now as far as like organizing, it comes down to like I think I agree with you as far as like this idea of staying local. That's what you got to. I mean, you got to start with you. You got to start like there's you and then there's your family. Just talk to your family. Try to just amongst your own family, among your own friends in your own neighborhood, just talk down rhetoric that would paint the kinds of ideas that I'm getting at as supremacist. Kind of like just like the conversation I'm having with you. That's where it starts. Just talking to your friends, your neighbors, calling. I mean, what I'm doing is a little, I'm clearly more motivated into it than I would call, talk on, call you up as opposed to just having a dinner chat with my friends or family.
Right.
But that's where it starts. Now,
right.
As far as
hey man,
we need to organize,
hey,
we need to network.
Go ahead. Just wrap up because I got to move on. Just wrap up real quick. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Sure. So like I said, I would look into things like that. Like I said, the American Identity Movement. There's also if you look, there's various YouTube channels that you can cut out things like Fox News and stuff, and try to subscribe to places like therightstuff.biz. You can.
All right, man.
Online.
I gotta go. I gotta let you go. Thanks for the call, man. I really appreciate it. See ya. Okay. Okay, it was a long phone call just because I'm generally curious about that point of view, and it's not that rare, so people should hear it. People should hear it in case you haven't before. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, actually, I had called in a few days ago. I had just mentioned how crazy I thought this Jussie Smollett thing was. So
yeah,
I just kind of wanted to, I don't know, kind of give a little bit more thoughts about it. But I mean, I pretty much think it was some type of deal made, like you said. And again, who's the guy you had on at the beginning of the show? On like video,
Leonard,
not on the phone.
Leonard Roy.
Yeah, Leonard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really shocked that he thinks it could possibly be about money. And if he does think it's about money, $10,000, that's completely ridiculous. But that's all I really wanted to say about that.
Yeah, I agree. Leonard was a little underwhelmed today. I don't know if he saw the whole picture. But anyway.
Yeah. You should probably talk to him about that later. It did seem like he's just waking up. But another thing, though, okay, so I had called earlier the last time because I kind of wanted to give you an idea about why you're getting such a reaction, and I realized I never even got around to it. And basically, just to sum it up real quick, I think it's because you normally are very, very, like, to use the lingo, red-pilled on a lot of these issues, and then you said some stuff that just seemed a little bit libtard. Don't take offense, but like, I think you shock some people like that, and that's the only reason you're getting more of a backlash, because it's like, when someone you care about, when your girlfriend or something betrays you, it's worse than a stranger. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well, one thing
I don't take it personal. I think that's really the only reason.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think I got into with this last caller, and I think this is what you're talking about, is I use the term white supremacist. And is that kind of what you're talking about when I got into that stuff? Okay.
But I actually do want to kind of say what you're going to say, but I do want to address that a little bit more too.
Okay, yeah, it's just my impression, okay, when I hear white people talk about it and like the video clips I played, particularly like the clip I played from Red Ice, what Lana was saying, and almost worse from Blackpilled. I mean, Blackpilled said kind of that white people uniquely believe in God. I mean, he kind of really said that. And then, and the things Lana said were all, basically the impression was all things that white people are better at. And to me, and this last caller even said that he went back on it, but I mean, he said kind of there's something genetically about white people which makes them more altruistic, it sounded like. And I just don't even know how that's evidence-based or anything, because, you can go to a Muslim country. I mean, people are really altruistic and stuff. So I don't know.
Well,
but
and
anyway,
I do agree.
But the term itself, whatever people on that side think it means, that's not my intention, I guess, because there's a lot of offenses taken. People will say, no, I'm not white supremacist. So I needed to get an understanding. That's why I'm glad I took down the video, because I don't mean it that way. I don't mean it that way. I guess it's just the way I perceive it. Well, and like he said, he asked and he kind of made my point, is he said, I like what the Jews are doing in Israel. And I think
I hated when he said that.
Yeah. And I think that's Jewish supremacist. So, and to me, that's where I think the beliefs get interesting, because he said he agrees what they're doing in Israel. And yet, the same, white nationalists, I guess I'll say, think the Jews are up to, bad things in general. So it's just a weird, like, to me, it's almost like the beliefs can't exist at the same time. So
right. Well, let me give you. I think I have a little bit of way to kind of clear. Now, I don't know. He did, the last caller. I'm not saying he has any malice or ill intent towards other people, but he did seem like, he at the very least is very preferential towards the accomplishments and cultural developments of, the European white quote unquote races.
Right.
And but okay. So here's my angle before I get off on a tangent. I'm a botanist, and I told you that last time I was talking to you. But when we're talking about plants and let's say we want to breed a tomato to be better for like mass production. You breed for like a thicker skin, uniform size, certain traits, okay? And you can select for those over time, and it's all based on scientific observation and just picking from natural selection and over time breeding it. There's other more sophisticated techniques, but in the end, it's really just about isolating certain genes. And the thing I hate about society today is that we know there's science to this. We know we can actually like manipulate and actually isolate for phenotypical like outcomes. And but when we talk about it with humans, we just completely ignore it. Now, I disagree with the last person when he starts to say that there's one group that's better than the other. But it's even with plants. Like, okay, that usually the tomatoes that are bred for shelf life and to be shipped and packaged without getting bruised, okay, they're the best, quote unquote. They're the supreme tomato when it comes to shipping purposes. But when it comes to taste, they're definitely not the supreme tomato. So when you're trying to talk about like supreme races, it's ridiculous because every race is different completely. And I think anybody who denies that is just out of their minds. And but that doesn't mean one is better than the other. That means that they're going to have different attributes, different strengths, different weaknesses. So
right.
That's the really important thing to, and but that's in the real world, that is going to translate to when it comes to some tasks, some human activities, some human behaviors, some are going to be much better, or at least that's a possibility at certain things.
Yeah.
And when we pretend like that's not the case, which I think we really kind of do, at least in schools, when we teach people about, like just, what is it called, anthropology and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of like, that's where this cultural Marxism comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what I think. I feel like you're kind of taking that route, though.
Yeah.
Where, it's okay. Well, but that's not, I don't think that's true. I think very, very objectively speaking, some races are better than others.
Oh no! Right. Okay. So, I when you said taking that route, the route I'm taking, I think races are very different, and people are cultural. So I think there are definitely differences, and I do make jokes. When I sold cars, when you deal with a different race, you deal with them differently because they're different, and you know what to expect, and you know how the deal is going to go, and I sold cars in Beverly Hills, and believe me, when when the Persian Jews came in, you knew when it came down to negotiations that you were going to be put through the fucking woodwork. It's like wrestling with a tiger. And it's totally different. With a black person, for example, there's not as much negotiation, but their credit's not going to be as good. And it's not. It's not being. It's just that, like you said, different people are. But as far as so,
but see, it's funny, you can laugh when you're talking about kind of social stereotypes like that. It's easier to talk about.
Right.
But when you get into genetic level and stuff like IQ, now I've never dived like deep into IQ. I don't know how solid that is, how they really come up with the answers and who came up with those tests and stuff like that. But I mean, and the guy, and last caller was talking about how the European, I guess, conditions that they evolved in, the northern tribes, I guess, and stuff like that. They had to be more like, empathetic or just more altruistic. And I don't know. I mean, I think that's a really big stretch.
Okay.
It's possible, but at the same time, they could have been more cutthroat. I mean, those resources get slim, and people start eating their leather shoes and belts, and then they run out of those and they go kill their neighbors. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily. You have to prove that to me more.
Right.
But another thing I think about like white supremacy, if you could sit back and actually prove that through the course of evolution and stuff like that like the northern Anglo tribes have developed genetically to be better at a longer checklist of like things that are valuable to us in society today. Okay, let's just assume that's provable, which I'm not saying it is. I don't really think there's any proof to say that the genes that make people white are also have any relation to the genes that make those traits. It's just a big Easter basket of genes, and every race, if that's the way they wanted to approach the situation, every race has the potential to like kind of breed and enhance themselves through selective breeding, and it wouldn't make people whiter as they got more whatever trait they were trying to accomplish.
Hmm.
So I think that's another angle that a lot of people just don't even ever really discuss.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
just,
Well,
but
it's just
genes are
interesting.
different, and it is going to pan out differently in different isolated population groups. And
It's
we
just
can't just pretend that's not the case.
it's just interesting to think of it in terms of breeding to me, and this is one place where I see trouble with, like, if I had the idea that white people were in danger of becoming extinct, or if I had an idea that it was important to preserve the lineage, which is, again, what Jews think, culturally, and I think that ends up being so troublesome. My daughter, if I thought I was gonna be mad if she chose to marry outside of her race or have children outside of their race, that wouldn't, I would be totally morally opposed to that. So I'd be hesitant to subscribe to any belief system that forwarded that kind of point of view, because I wouldn't want to pass on that point of view to my children necessarily.
And I think you're absolutely right, and that's why you have to have. Well, I think it would be healthy societally to have conversations like this, because then you would get to the point where you could say, okay, let's talk. Okay, populations are going to shift and change over time, and immigration is going to have a big effect on that. What values do we want to impose? Biodiversity is great, and keeping cultural, diversity is great, but do we want to deal with the implications of trying to preserve them? But we're not even having these conversations. And if people do, they really are just labeled like just anywhere from Nazi to God knows the smears they're going to come up with. It's just insane.
I almost kind of got involved in it, just not innocently, but from a point of view where I didn't understand necessarily what it meant. But I mean, for me then to say that what I was seeing on Red Ice, or what I was seeing on Black Pilled, or even from Alex Jones to some extent, the way he goes after Muslims, but for me to say that was white supremacist is engaging in the same kind of smear, I guess. My interpretation of the term is a little different, but it's engaging in the same type of smear that you would get from the mainstream media, and that's what I think that I disagree in probably most ways with the philosophy of it, although I can agree in a lot of ways too. But I think that not allowing the conversation to be had and just shutting it down and calling people names, racist, just like calling Trump supporters all racist, I think that makes it worse. And the censorship then on top of that makes it even worse. The fact that you can't hear a conversation like this makes it worse, rather than, So.
What is your stance on immigration?
Well,
in America specifically,
I think a nation has the right to control its borders. My wife is an immigrant from the UK. And I appreciate that I'm able to have someone I marry, legally live in this country. And I wouldn't think it should be any different if she was from any other country, to be honest. I think, though, a country has the right to control its borders. In that sense, I think what Europe is living under is kind of fascist, or that the EU is able to tell a country that what they're supposed to do with their borders and who they have to allow in. I think that's totally wrong. But the reason we are bringing in non-white people is because of, in some ways, the birth rate, and because of the way countries work. They want to keep having economic growth, and from our economic growth, we have to keep bringing people in.
I think it's really it's more international corporations that really want the infinite growth. Now, So you were saying earlier that you think that it's really good and we should encourage people to lower the birth rate.
No, just the opposite.
I thought you said that.
No, just the opposite. No.
Oh, okay, that changes that.
I'm saying if white people feel this thing where they think that basically white culture, then they should have strong families and have kids. I think that's definitely the
Right.
place to start. And I think,
No. But do you personally like? I mean, because I kind of, you say you're not partisan, and I believe you, but you seem, I kind of gauge you as being more on the left. Is that correct? Would you say that's correct?
I wouldn't know how to label. I wouldn't know what to say, but I think in terms of like these kind of values, I'm way more on the left. Like in terms of, I think the term the one guy used was egalitarian. I might believe in that. I believe in distinct differences between the sexes for one thing, which feminism, I think has been incredibly destructive and stuff. But I believe in differences racially. I just really like the mix. Like I prefer being around mixed cultures personally.
Mixed. Okay, well here's the point I want to make on that.
So if that makes me left,
what's that?
I don't know if that makes me more left or not. It's just
that's I don't really think that's, well, I guess you could be stereotyped as that, but I think that's not necessarily true. Well, what you say about the cultures and you like living among other cultures. Now, I 100% agree. I am mixed. My parents are my dad's from Iran. My mom is from, she doesn't even know. And that's one thing I think is kind of tragic. It does seem like a lot of white people in America really don't have much of a connection to, like, they don't even know. Like most people don't know exactly where their descendants came from. And that's a big problem, because if they did, then they could have like Norwegian pride or Swedish pride or British pride, and a lot, maybe a lot more people than I think do. But that gives me my point. So coming from a mixed family, I really do think that mixed marriages, especially when, like, my dad's not Muslim. Matter of fact, his like family was like very anti-Muslim. They didn't really like religion at all. But they're Persian, okay? And they moved over here, and my dad was kind of like, he viewed America as the great goal that everybody wants to get to in a land of opportunity. And he got here and he just completely sold his entire culture and history down the river and just became like the all-American consumer, just like Oscar Mayer, Coca-Cola, just like 100%, And I think that is tragic, okay? Tragic. First of all, I think Persian culture is infinitely more rich than American culture. I mean, you can't even compare it. My dad even used to say, he's like, my grandma's doorstep is like 10 times older than this country is. And he's right. And I just think that it's not just America, it's globalism. Globalism is a very, very destructive, caustic force for individuality and unique culture. And that's what I hate about it. So I saw this video the other day, and it was a pro-immigration video for Italy, and they were showing all these like North African immigrants. I'm not sure where they were from. They were so happy to be there, and they were like singing like a traditional ethnic song that was in celebration, like they were giving thanks to Italy for letting them come in. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, that's wonderful. I love seeing these cultures. But my question to you and anyone listening is, like, how many generations do you think it's going to take before that person's kid or descendant has literally zero connection to that culture? He will have no idea where that song came from, will not sound anything like that person, will have no connection to Africa. I mean, it's not good. And I think in big picture, the people that push it, they really do just want to keep labor prices down. They want to keep commodity prices down. It has nothing to do with protecting the individuals, the refugees. And, I mean, that's really where I just think it's a big scam.
Well,
and I know you said that people wouldn't fight back against, like, preserving culture, because last time I said we would just become a monoculture. And you said you weren't convinced that people aren't going to hold on. Well, I think we're seeing that now. We're seeing people try to hold on, but they're made out to be, supremacist of whatever category they are, or just extremely white-ring, xenophobic, all that kind of stuff. They're completely delegitimized by the globalist-controlled media. And that goes back to, like, it is Zionist-controlled. Now, that's another thing about this whole Jussie Smollett thing. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of hearing Israeli dual citizens, trying to break down the narrative for these really important national events. Like after 9/11, it was just a bunch of Israelis telling us how to interpret it, and now we have Rahm Emanuel up there telling us how we need to, perceive the situation. I mean, no, I want people who aren't connected to a foreign intelligence service, guiding the public dialogue.
So you're not happy that he's at least saying the right things? I mean, that doesn't...
He's saying it, but that's the problem. That's how controlled opposition works. Why did it happen in the one freaking city that the mayor is a freaking Israeli dual citizen with ties to their intelligence services?
I
His
don't
dad
know.
has a ridiculous history.
Yeah, I really don't know. I can't explain it. But like with most things, the way I approach them is by their actions. And at least he's saying, the right things. And he's backed up there by the police who are saying the right things too.
Well, but you even said earlier, it's now turned, instead of being about this minority privilege, now he's talking about it. He's changed the narrative to now it's wealthy privilege. It's connected privilege. It's famous privilege. And that's what I mean. It's these subtle directional changes in the narrative that just go by unnoticed. But that's not what's happening here. I mean, that has something to do with it. But like you said, it doesn't matter. Roseanne went down. If she's rich and famous. There's a lot of people who are rich and famous who don't get immune to these. Who was the guy, the guy from CBS or something, who got fired?
Are you talking about Les Moonves for all the sexual assault, or are you talking
all these goons?
Well, you know what though, you make a good point. I mean, you make a good point that I hadn't really thought of. I mean, look at what Megyn Kelly. Look at right? She said something that was perceived as racist, and all of a sudden she was just gone right away, and it wasn't even clear.
And they're powerful and connected people, but
Roseanne
I'm
too.
sure that does have something to do with it. But at the same time, I think people were. I'm not saying that this guy sits in back rooms and smokes cigars with Kamala Harris and Obama. I can't prove all that stuff. And famous people in this country, they talk. Just because someone bumped elbows with somebody doesn't mean they're in a cabal together.
Right.
But
it's true.
But I think that what he symbolized, what he was in the public image, is very. He would have damaged the weapon, the bludgeon that is identity politics, and that's the reason why he got off. It has nothing to do with his wealth or connections. It has to do with what it would have done to their entire social control mechanism.
Interesting. For him to actually be prosecuted and be locked up, you mean would have done that?
What? I'm sorry. What? Say that again.
You mean if he had been prosecuted and locked up, that would have created what you were talking about?
No. I think even what's going on. So he got let go because if he was charged and it came up that he was actually his motivations, it's not really the punishment or if he gets convicted, it's the motivations that's important. And if it was completely proven and it was the public accepted narrative that this was a extreme leftist, anti-Trump, gay black man who committed a staged hate crime to slander and diminish specifically MAGA people,
right,
that would completely destroy their entire narrative, and they couldn't do that. They could not let that happen. So, yeah, they can do this debacle. They can say he's free, and they can have a mayor, come up there and pretend like or act like he's fighting the good fight. But the whole narrative has now shifted. Now it's about his privilege. Now it's about his wealth and connections, and that's, in my opinion, that's really not what it's about.
Right. You think it's more that he had some racial privilege in this case, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, all right. Well, fair enough. I mean, I think it's probably a little bit of both, and we're gonna see. I guess, how it progresses from here. So, good to get your thoughts on it. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right, see ya. All right, I've been taking long phone calls. I am going to go ahead and wrap it up, and then people can watch this on the replay. It's already been a number of hours. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It turned into a very interesting special. Let me play you what Rahm Emanuel said one more time, okay, just so you guys can hear it. This is Rahm Emanuel responding earlier today, for those of you guys tuning in.
It is wrong, full stop.
Do you blame the state's attorney's office for his decision?
what I do want to say is the way
You know what I'm going to do? Oh, I already played it. So for people on the replay, I'm going to play it over on Twitch, actually. I'll just play it over on Twitch to hear what he said again. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, it's supported by truthclothing.io, Truth Revolution Clothing, sale on all Russian bot stuff. We have lots of lady styles. Truthclothing.io. Check that out. And you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. Or download the Twitch app, look for Lift the Veil, follow the channel, and turn on your notifications. You'll get it. I stream there live more than YouTube. You can find it on podcast too. Anywhere there are podcasts, look for Lift the Veil, like for longer shows like this you might want to tune in for. And that's about it. You guys know how to support the show. Thanks for the super chats. I'll make sure I didn't miss any. Check. Got to stop calling people white supremacists. All races have their own unique value, just like dog breeds. Do we want to mix all dog breeds and have only one dog? We must protect diversity. Nationalist. Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning, everybody. You guys are learning about me too. Hopefully it's a good conversation. For now, that's what it is.